You're listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. Whether it's for food, fuel, drinks, or snacks, about half of the U.S. population shops at a convenience store every day. We'll talk about what we see at stores and what the future may hold for our industry.
The retail apocalypse is upon us. That's what we hear. Retail is cutting back, and there will be no more retail. But instead, we have a different story to tell today. We're going to talk to somebody who's leading one of the fastest growing companies in the world. A company who's gone from one store in 2001 to over 5,000 today. And what's their vision for the future, and what can you learn from it? Welcome to Convenience Matters. My name is Jeff Lenard with NACS.
And I'm Carolyn Schnare with NACS.
And today joining us by phone is Ilyas Munshi, Group Commercial Director with EG Group, which some of you may know as Euro Garages, and they've grown from one store to over 5,000 in less than 2 decades. Welcome, Ilyas.
Thank you for the introduction, Jeff, and hi, Carolyn.
Hello, thank you for joining us by phone.
And so let's just start off. How is your company defying everything we hear out there that retail is not the place to be, that it's somewhere else? That clearly says something about your optimism with small retail, whether in the UK or in Australia or around Europe and in the US.
Yeah, I think, Jeff, for EG Group, what we are passionate about is delivering a world-class fuel convenience retail or convenience shop and food-to-go offer. And we work predominantly in the kind of gas station convenience store space. And regardless of which market you look at, people value their time. If you look at, as businesses, you've always got to be focused on the consumer. And we all know that time is of value to everyone. People are rushing about. People are kind of at work, at home. And what they're wanting is to be able to access locations which satisfy multiple missions. And what we've been able to do is neatly kind of deliver that on our gas stations and convenience stores, which creates a wow factor for the consumer because previously or historically they've not had access to that.
So, Ilyas, you touched on something, how you want to provide world-class convenience to those on the go, those on the move with short amount of time. So now you have locations literally all over the world, like Jeff said, Australia, United States, all over Europe. Is something that is interesting. They always tell us Americans, you guys don't settle down. You're always on the go. You don't take time for things. But is this a global phenomenon? So in other words, are you seeing it in all of your locations that people just want things fast, want things quick, and they want them good?
Yeah, like I said, I think the key words here are multiple missions. What people are wanting on a kind of a global footing these days is, where can I go so I can pick up my breakfast, I can pick up my kind of snacks, or I need to pick up the newspaper or magazine, or I can fill up my gas so I can go for my meeting, or, even in terms of kind of doing a top-up shop for the evening, where you've forgotten a few items to pick up from the supermarket, you need them for the meal in the evening, so you'll go to one of our locations, and that's where the C in convenience comes into play. It's all about creating a better range of product and service at our locations, and what we've been able to do is kind of package together neatly, not only the fuel. I always describe our business as a convenience store, which has a food court, and ironically sells fuel. Historically, the definition of gas stations were somewhere you went to when the light came on in your vehicle, and also you needed to kind of pick up a few snacks for your journey. So you stopped by and you did a distress purchase. What we are creating here and on a global footing is people want retail destinations. They want destinations where they've got a choice. So if it's a family traveling on a journey, the mother or father are not worried when they stop at our locations that there's something available for everyone sitting in that car. So whether it's the kids or it's the parents or whoever's traveling with them, there's something on that retail destination we've created for them to be satisfied.
So, to a certain extent, what we're looking at is redefining the dirt. And that's a term that you hear oftentimes in the U.S. It's like we own the convenient dirt. And it's saying we own this property, and yes, we sell gas, but we really sell convenience. So let's just look at how do we get those fill-in grocery items? How do we get that? How do we make it a food-first destination or a convenience-first destination that may mean multiple things to multiple people? And that appears to be really what EG Group is embracing.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And if we look at, again, I think you've always got to keep the focus on the consumer and the trends that we're living in a society where people are ordering online. If we look at the traditional supermarket model, if we look at how they're operating and what the space they're being kind of playing in, the days are gone where people are just filling up the trolley. I think if we look at our kind of shopping habits, it's little but more often. So people are looking at convenience stores in terms of, do they offer parking? Are they well lit? Are they secure locations? Do I feel safe on accessing these locations? The whole welfare piece around even clean washrooms. These are all important aspects that if you get right, alongside putting a robust kind of convenience store stroke food to go offer, this is what today's consumer is looking for. And if you can create that is the opportunity in the marketplace. So regardless of what happens with online, etc., people are on the move. People are moving about, whether it's for jobs and, like I said, for social reasons. So they will need access to destinations. And this is what we're tapping into. It's that consumer focus on being able to satisfy those multiple missions.
So let's talk about you for a minute. Back in 2016, when we first met, we were at a NACS event in London. And you were talking about EG Group, and you were growing exponentially at that point. And from that point, you had a couple hundred stores to where now you have several thousand stores. And leadership and the way you talk with employees and work with employees must change drastically from then in 2016 to today. I would imagine that your perspective has changed.
Oh, fundamentally, Carolyn, because leadership and having the kind of vision to move the business forward and create that kind of consumer offer underpins what we have kind of experienced as a business. We're very proud as a business to have kind of given a lot of leadership opportunities or career progression opportunities for people who started life as a site manager or a cashier, or even kind of joining us as an area manager or a territory manager. Today, some of these people are brand managers for Starbucks or Subway, or even like looking after a portfolio of Exxon or Shell or BP sites. So what we're very proud of is we've been able to kind of promote people from within, and whether that's leadership from the kind of head office level above site management or the site level itself. When you're in a growing business, as you can appreciate, it creates plenty of opportunities for people to kind of progress themselves. And, you've got to take on board that retail. Again, it's one of these professions where it's not manufacturing, it's not engineering. You need people with the right hunger and desire to service customers that are coming through the door. And we've got plenty of these kind of people who've kind of grown with the business. And like many retailers, what we're very impressed with is some of the kind of, I joined the business 7 years ago. And one of the areas that really impressed me as a kind of a senior leader within our organization, the number of people I was coming across who joined at the outset or the setting up of the business, all the way through the journey that we've had in terms of growth. They've stuck along and they've kind of grown as individuals. They've taken on additional responsibility. We've got a gentleman who came across as an area manager. Today, he's been responsible for taking over the networks in Italy, for example. He also took responsibility for working in the US when we did the Kroger acquisition, and he's currently based out of Australia. So when we completed the Woolworths acquisition, he's gone there to kind of support the local team to create the right culture, the right kind of processes and policies, embed that culture in Australia. So Gary, as an individual, he's grown leaps and bounds, and he's working on international assignments. And if you were to speak to Gary, never would he have had, dreamt of kind of working in multiple international markets and doing the role that he's currently doing. He started with us as an area manager from Exxon, some sites we took over back in 2014, and he's progressed.
Gary, way to go. Little shout out to Gary there. I think that's amazing. We've talked about that a lot at NACS, is how the career progression within the industry is so possible with any retail, because in our industry, people start and grow with the companies they start with. And it's really impressive to see the career potential that we can offer.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people kind of look down on retailers and convenience retail, or somebody in a gas station, the typical employee profile. And, you've only got to watch the movies and you see the college student head down in the books. That's the kind of perception. But you've just got to travel and you'll see now the whole kind of professionalism, the whole kind of investment around training and development, the piece around kind of leadership and management is very critical in running a very slick and smooth operation, which you want to label world class. And I think, as a kind of a leading operator, we believe in our people, because at the end of the day, they are the cold face when interacting with the consumer. So even when, we've acquired sites from oil majors or supermarkets, a lot of the kind of retail kind of experience and knowledge is driven from head office level. What we've been doing is we've been empowering site managers to take more responsibility, because they know the customers that are walking through the door. So they work with our kind of head office or convenience retail teams in terms of the ranging, what products should be on the shelves, and looking at simple retail disciplines and executing effectively. Now, you say that to a site manager who for the last 10 years, 15 years, has just been unloading goods and just putting them on the shelf because they've just got to follow a planogram. All of a sudden, you empower them to say, actually, we believe in what you're doing at your site level, and we want you to tell us what we should be putting on the shelves. That is a very powerful retail message. And when you empower leaders at the site level, you then see the whole kind of benefit in terms of profitability, customer experience, because what you're doing is you're putting the right product for the consumers that are accessing that site.
So, to a certain extent, my understanding is there are some stores that are branded EG, but a lot of your portfolio is different brands. It's to a certain extent, it's Starbucks, KFC, some of the various food brands that you carry at your stores. You also have acquired brands that I believe you're keeping those brand names. So, to a certain extent, that creates some dynamic where you have to be consistent in how do you bring together HR and all those other elements. But on the other hand, when you have multiple brands, it allows employees to go, oh, I have different options. I started in this retail channel. Now I can do this. How does the company pull it all together to allow the freedom to experience different channels or different offers, but also have that consistency of 5,000, around 5,000 units?
Yeah, I think some interesting points, Jeff, you've made there. If I tackle the piece around the kind of brand partners, I think one of the big lessons we learned as we were growing internationally, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And what I mean by that is the lineup of brands that we might have in the UK are not necessarily the right brands that that might work in the US, or equally in continental Europe or in Australia. So what you've got to do is engage with partner brands, which for that respective market, you've always got to respect the consumer in the markets you go into, that they want to access a particular type of offer. So if we take the example of France, normally lunchtime for the French is a big thing. In the evenings, they'll have a very quick, simple meal, but lunchtimes is a big event for them, and they want to have a proper sit-down meal. Whereas in the UK, for example, a typical customer at lunchtime, they'll pick up a sandwich, a packet of chips, they'll get a drink, and they're on the go again. Whereas in France, it's a proper sit-down meal, and they'll spend time having a starter, a mains, and a dessert. And that is their preference. Now, you've got to kind of cater for that. If you look at their kind of hot beverage preferences, a lot of the French consumers will consume espressos over milky beverages. Whereas in the UK, US, Australia, even markets like Germany, the customers will have milky beverages, and that's where the margin sits. Whereas in France, you're selling espressos day in, day out. So you've got to adapt the brand partner offer to the respective market. So that's the first lesson. Secondly, when it comes to our kind of brand partners, EG Group is simply an ambassador for all these leading retail brands. What we do is we identify brand partners who are kind of recognized leaders in the space they operate in. What we do and what our kind of DNA is to bring those brands together into our locations and make it a robust consumer offer. And what I mean by that is basically when you look at coffee nowadays for convenience stores, it's an integral category. If you look at a bakery offer, strong bakery offer, it's an integral category that you have to invest in on your locations. So what we do is which coffee brand, which bakery brand are popular in that market. We then kind of engage the respective brand partner and we work with them. And if they've got the same growth aspirations, then it works. And then, like you said, what we've done is we've inherited a lot of brands through our acquisitions. But what we try and do is, again, we try and add value and create what's known, the third kind of point is try and create a halo impact. And what I mean by that is you have a lineup of brands like Exxon or Esso, for example, alongside Starbucks, alongside BK, alongside KFC, whichever brands you look at, when you have a culmination of brands to the consumer, that is adding a kind of a halo impact. So the sum of the brands adds real value rather than just branding our site EG Group. So for us, working with a lot of brand partners gives us the consumer offer we're trying to create and delivering a kind of a retail experience which today's consumer is looking for.
So I think you hit upon a topic that Carolyn and I wanted to talk about briefly is our CEO, Henry Armour, he talks about the quote from this futurist, William Gibson, who said the future is here, it's just unevenly distributed. And what he means by that is you go to some country and they're more advanced on one thing. You go to another country, they're more advanced on something else. And the future is already here. So with operations in at least 3 continents right now, what are you seeing that others may not be seeing in terms of the future? We know that Europe is much more in a fresh. We know that the U.S. Is probably faster than the UK in terms of wanting convenience and wanting it now. But what are some of the broad trends that you're seeing and you're looking to address with your diverse customer base?
I think, Jeff, if you look at the kind of future trends and one of the kind of debates always is what's your kind of digital strategy? So yes, fine, we've got Amazon Go, we've got kind of other retail players kind of looking at developing app technology or engaging customers through digital technologies, but it equally applies to us as well because that traditional model of people coming to our sites, if you look at what the pinch points are or the pain that consumers today experience, is they've got to queue up. And when you've got 1 hour for lunch, for example, and you're having to spend 10, 15 minutes in a subway queue, then you're spending 10, 15 minutes paying for your fuel and standing in the shop, again, how do you kind of remove those kind of time frames or bottlenecks from your business model? And I think the investment in technology kind of delivers that. So what are we looking at? For example, we are creating an app which sits on top of all the brand partner kind of loyalty apps, and it creates a kind of a wallet for the customers to use. So currently, if they wanted to pay for things, they'd have to open up their respective app, whether that's Subway, Starbucks, Esso, BP, Shell, and then they'd pay for their item using their app, for example. What we're doing is we're creating an app which creates a wallet which allows people to pay and utilize various brands that are available on the site. And this is, again, pushing the envelope. We're not just creating another layer of loyalty or discounting. We are looking to kind of get visibility of, does the customer buy fuel first, then go into the shop? If they go then going into the shop, what kind of items are they buying or purchasing? Or do they go to our food-to-go brands? Currently, everything is disparate because each brand partner has their own kind of technology stack. They've got their own kind of POS solutions. So what we're doing is we're trying to kind of do the knitting together. So I see a vision where somebody who's working in an office, so Carolyn, for example, she's got a mission to go out at lunchtime. What she will do is she will pre-order her food before she leaves the office. She's paid for the food as well. She'll now go onto the site. She may fill up, and then she'll go in to pick up her food. Or alternatively, we know we've got the order. So when Carolyn arrives on our site and we get the flag that she's arrived, one of our staff members will go out and deliver the food order to her. So how do we improve that experience? That's what EG is about. We've grown our business model because petrol stations have always been there, gas stations have always been there, convenience stores. We looked at the business model and we kind of added value by putting together the whole piece around fuel, convenience store, and food to go. Where is the future? The future is digital. It's about investing in the technology side. We've done, we're doing a massive program of digital screens. So when you're filling up your gas, on average, you're spending anything between 3 to 8 minutes in idle time while you've got the nozzle in the vehicle. What we're doing is now in the shop windows, we're putting large digital screens which educates the customers about the offers that are available in the store. So whilst they've got that idle time, we're using them to condition the retailer, the customer, what we have got as retail offers within our location. So all these elements put together, what we will see is a kind of a digital technology-based retail environment, which again will move into personalization, better kind of engagement of the customers as well, because we'll know what their spend patterns are and what their behavior is. So I think the future holds a lot of opportunities for retailers who embrace change and want to make a difference in the marketplace.
Well, as going back to what you first said about the convenience of it all, thank you for making it more convenient for me, the customer, because I just show up and my food's ready and I'm getting my gas and my lunch break is now much shorter thanks to making things convenient. But you're really encompassing the idea of convenience all around, both from the site visit to my technical convenience, everything else. So I think that's outstanding. Now, I have one final question for you, and that's what kind of advice would you give to a single store, a small operator with 1 or 2 stores in the U.S., abroad, wherever? What kind of advice would you give that they want to grow? They want to get to the size of EG Group someday, or even a tenth of the size. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think we're living proof that you can start off with one convenience store. And like Jeff said in the introduction, we today operate 5,500 across the globe. So everything's achievable. You've got to have the right vision and then the values. And in this game, it's all about investing in your infrastructure, so in your sites. It's about investing in your people and also the systems and the tools that your people are using at the site level. If you create that kind of initial value or mindset, then you will be successful. I think just operating the site as it has been for many years and just continuing to operate it like that, it's a death of 1,000 swords. Slowly but surely you'll see a decline in your business. So it's like any business. You've got to be continually be seen to be adding value to the proposition. And, now, even if you look at food service, I was reading a report where if you add food service to your convenience store, typically you see an increment of 20% in sales. On gas stations and stroke convenience stores on gas stations, if you add food service, that figure actually goes up to 30% increase in sales. So the trends and people who've tried it are already out in the marketplace. And there's some phenomenal operators, who've either gone down the branded partner route or they've gone and created their own proprietary offers. It's about kind of having the will to see it through. So even if you're a small operator, you've got to just look at it as an opportunity. But it requires investment from your perspective and a commitment to kind of drive change on your site. If you're thinking, I'll just run it like, we come across a lot of people who are second, third generation operators. They just lack the will and the enthusiasm to do the investment. And these people, they're either going to, in the long run, just going to shut down their sites or sell the sites on. So if you don't have that commitment, then, try and get value for your asset. If you are committed to the journey, EG Group is testament to what you can achieve.
And I think it clearly points out that the retail apocalypse is not upon us, particularly at the convenience retailing level. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ilyas. It's been a pleasure to hear your leadership in how we can grow as an industry or as individual companies. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Carolyn.
And thank you for listening to Convenience Matters.
Convenience Matters is brought to you by NACS and produced in partnership with Human Factor. For more information, visit convenience.org.